Welcome to the Beasts of the NFC East podcast. I'm in pain, and I'm also your co-host, Sean Gnitzcavich, with my co-host, Jeremy Goode. Jeremy Goode, what's good, man?
Not the Eagles coaching staff right now. Not the Eagles defense. Not the health of A.J. Brown. Not much is good. All bad.
Yeah, that's fair. And I'm in pain not only because the Giants lost in historic fashion, historically pathetic, miserable fashion, but also because I tried to recreate the Malik Neighbors catch at the end that he dropped that helped us lose the game. But I actually caught it, but I caught it on a downslope, and I think I tore every ligament in my foot. So I've been hobbling around, and I am in a lot of pain. But football was weird this week. This is why I love the NFL. Everybody after week one had everything in their mind. Oh, the Cowboys O-line's actually good. Tyler Guyton's looking good. Guess what? The Cowboys collapsed against the Saints. A Saints team that nobody thought was going to be good, and Derek Carr is looking like the MVP. The Giants, where I thought come this time last week, I thought that we'd be talking about how Drew Lock is now taking over the Giants and how he sucks equally as much as Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, I'd say, played well enough for one more week of being the New York Giants quarterback at least. Just an overall weird week. Most of the NFC East is losers. Of course, one team came out on top because somebody had to win in that Giants-Commanders game. It wasn't going to be another tie like last year or 2 years ago. Anything you want to talk about before we get into these recaps, Jeremy?
No, just a lot of upsets in week two, which you would think you'd see more in week one, maybe. But I don't know. Yeah, just weird. Weird week for the NFL. Not good for the better teams. Probably not good for the NFL, but not my problem.
I think it is. I think it is good for the NFL. I like it because it keeps people on their toes. Everybody thought they had the whole script down. And then the Ravens, the Raiders, the Cowboys get smoked by the Saints. The Falcons, who look abysmal, beat the Eagles and keep them competitive the whole game.
Yeah, I think ultimately, we could get into this later, but just very quickly, I think the NFL wants dominance and eliteness with teams, and it doesn't look like there are many teams that are elite, if any. Even Kansas City doesn't look like amazing. So, that's where I think the money comes in. That's where the storylines come in for the NFL. We'll get into later, but I think that Goodell would rather have a few teams just be amazing, and it doesn't seem like we have that right now, at least early on.
All right. Well, with that being said, we got a good episode. We're recapping all of the week 2 games, and then we're going to get into our little fantasy challenge that me and Jeremy are doing with our all NFC East fantasy teams, and then we'll do a quick preview for next week games. But let's start with, honestly, I think one of the more entertaining games of the week with 2 of our NFC East teams. The New York Football Giants lose at the Commanders Stadium, FedEx, whatever it's called right now, 21-18. The Giants lose. And not only do they lose, but they're the first team to ever hold an opponent to 0 touchdowns, score 3 touchdowns, and still lose the game. Why is that? Well, many reasons, but one of the biggest factors is perhaps the fact that Brian Daboll didn't seem it necessary to have a backup kicker when Graham Gano looked obviously hurt. This is probably one of the biggest deals. Opening play, kickoff return, Austin Eckler looks electric, returns a touchdown off the kickoff, called back for holding. Graham Gano chases him down, tackles him, messes up his hamstring. He was already going in with a groin injury. But on Saturday, Dan Duggan, one of the Giants beat reporters to The Athletic, said that Graham Gano looks uncomfortable, looks hurt. He's pulled himself out and had Jamie Gillian, our punter, doing kicks just in the warm-ups, walkthroughs, whatever. So it was already known. On top of that, Gunnar Olszewski, our punt returner, gets put on IR on Thursday. So that means that we have one open slot for the roster for game day. But what do? We don't put anybody on it. Doesn't save us a little bit of money. So we avoided that in order to – sorry, I'm getting interrupted by my lovely girlfriend who's helping me with my broken foot. So we decided to save some money, but for what? to lose us the game. We dealt with the same thing when we lost to the Jets last year in a very close game and we didn't have a kicker. We couldn't go for it on 2. The play designs looked awful. Jamie Gillian shanked the first kick, and we just gave up on it after that. Even though he hit a 50-yarder, I heard at halftime when he was practicing. So, like, it's not like it was totally out of the realm of possibility that he could kick a field goal for an extra point and maybe win us this game. But,
right.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. I've seen a lot of reactions. I've been talking to my fellow Giants fans. Everybody's miserable, just as miserable as last week's win. I actually came out of this game excited a little bit. I mean, the Giants offense actually looked good. Like, Daniel Jones could get moved. It was functioning. Daniel Jones took some shots down the field. Yes, like, you would like to see him connect with Malik Neighbors. One of them, I think Malik could have maybe grabbed. The other one sailed over his head. But Malik Neighbors looks as advertised. He looks amazing. The most targets I think a rookie has received in a single game in, like, I don't know, like year, whatever. It was 18 targets, 10 receptions, 127 yards, and a touchdown, which, if you checked the recap last week, I swear I said 8 catches, 120 yards, and a touchdown. Pretty close. But Daniel Jones played well enough in this game. Our offensive line, yes, this Commanders defense, if you watch the game, was as advertised as bad as it is. Like, it just, there's nothing scary about this defense aside from Frankie Louvu hitting you super hard for a tackle after you get 5 yards. But yeah, only 1 sack allowed. Cleveland Farrell broke free, but our O-line looked good. Daniel Jones really wasn't pressured at all. He had time to find Malik Neighbors, which was pretty much our entire offense. Devin Singletary ran really well behind the line. 16 carries for 95 yards, touchdown, almost 6 yards a carry. It was much improved from last week, and especially because, running the ball, like, that's Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, Johnny Newton. It's not like the Commanders should be a cakewalk to run against. So it was good to see that as well. Jeremy, any thoughts before I keep ranting about these New York Football Giants?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the standard you have with the Giants at this point of how you want to evaluate them. I just think they're a bad team. So if I have that thinking, if that's my thought process about the Giants, I would agree that I think that, they did decently week 2 because you have to see them at least in close games. You have to see them competent. They weren't going to look like week 1 every week, but you have to see it first. And the offense was a lot better. Defense, good. They didn't give them a touchdown, which is big. So you have that bend don't break mentality. In some ways it works, in some ways it doesn't. But not giving up touchdowns is huge. So I think that's a plus. I don't think Washington's a great team overall, but it was a close game. I think it's kind of a shame with that Neighbors drop at the end. Daniel Jones actually made a really good play on that from the start in scrambling, getting out of the pocket and like improvising and making a nice throw. So unfortunate there. You're going to have opportunities here and there with that kind of stuff. I agree. I don't have high standards for the Giants. I didn't think they're going to go into this game and win. So if you're going to be realistic with this team, not a bad outcome ultimately. You got to figure out not filling an IR spot is insane. I don't think any team does that, but the Giants.
That blows my mind. Like, especially because we have a kicker on our practice squad that we could have pulled up.
Yeah,
like, this McElmaney guy out of Rutgers. But
it's weird too because like you could have just you should have put Gano on IR. If he has groin issues on Saturday, that's the most serious.
Maybe not injury. IR, but at least hold him back.
Not IR, but have him inactive, sure. But like groin injuries too are like, I don't know, they're like big deal for kickers.
As a kicker,
the kicker can have. So like, besides like a broken bone or whatnot, but we get that. I don't get the approach. I just don't get. It can all contributes to a loss essentially. So you understand how these things can hurt you in the long run. 2 point, and when teams know that you have to go for two as well, I would have probably tried to kick an extra point with the punter myself. But when teams know you're going for two, you can design some, offenses they only have one chance. You can design some good plays to defend that too. So, yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunate for a long run for the Giants. Saw some good things, but yeah, if you're just going to these games not having much of a feeling, much of a pulse, you got to be realistic. So good things came out of it, but I think that stat, the 3 touchdowns to no touchdowns and still losing, is a bit haunting.
Yeah. So Shane Bowen raves about his bend don't break defense, which is exactly what happened. They bend all the way to not breaking, but also the Commanders did score on every single offensive possession. Yes, we held them to 3 points, but they also shot themselves in the foot. Like we were playing, and this is an NFC East podcast, so we're getting to the Commanders too, but we're playing a Commanders offense that looks relatively inept with Cliff Kingsbury. I feel like he has the training wheels on Jaden Daniels. Like I was mentioning before the podcast, Jaden Daniels went 23 for 29, 226 yards, but I believe 13 of those passes were behind the line of scrimmage. The amount of screens, which is a Cliff Kingsbury special, was unreal. And just like we talked about last week, how like you shouldn't have 2 running backs as your main offensive forces, but that happened again this week. And honestly, they ran well against this Giants defense. And Shane Bowen was known for having great run defenses. Guess what? He also had Jeffrey Simmons, and he had a different personnel. So that's why when these guys are known to have a great defense somewhere else, it's not always just their coaching style. It's their personnel that they had and on that other scheme. And yes, we have Dexter Lawrence, but the run defense through 2 games, Aaron Jones, like an old aging Aaron Jones, he still looks like he's got it, ran for 100 yards on us. Between Austin Eckler and Jaden Daniels and Brian Robinson, they ran for over 200 yards on us. Like I said, Washington shot themselves in the foot. I think they had 5 false starts in the red zone.
Yeah.
That was, it was getting rough for those Commanders. But I'll tell you what, too, another key part of the Shane Bowen defense is that he just tries to get pressure by rushing the front 4. But all of our sacks came from design blitzes. Jason Pinnock had 2 sacks on design blitzes. Granted, Kayvon Thibodeau was pretty close. He was in on that action, but he wasn't credited for any half sacks or anything. Mike McFadden, who also lost a sack early in the game because Jaden Daniels is a magician, dude, just slipping out of there. And Mike McFadden was like, what, dude? I thought I had that. Andrew Phillips had a nice sack, Bobby Okereke. But the pressures and QB hits by Kayvon and Brian Burns were pretty low for a Commanders offensive line that I feel like we should have taken more advantage of. Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns, I believe, did have a really nice sack on what would have forced a 4th down, except they called a complete BS pass interference call on Drew Phillips, who just got demolished by Zach Ertz running into him, and they called a pass interference on him, which I think is just bullshit, and honestly led to us losing the game too.
Yeah.
That being said, though, Andrew Phillips looks so good. If you're watching that game, he just stands out on film. He had 2 tackles for loss, 12 tackles, the sack, our 3rd-round pick. I don't know why Cordell Flott was ever in contention to play the slot, because Andrew Phillips is playing like an all-pro and in the slot right now. He also was the player who played limited snaps last week, but on his first defensive play, forced a fumble. He was the one who forced a fumble and got us the ball in the red zone last week. He's playing really well, and I love him. He's physical, and his pass coverage looks good as well. That's fun. It's something. It's just something to. Our rookies are looking good, and I didn't even really get into Malik Neighbors, but Malik Neighbors, I think 60% of his yards came after the catch too. So it wasn't just these design plays. It was Malik Neighbors creating offense for us. And that's what I think he needs to continue to do throughout this season. But I'll tell you what, man, he's looking like the favorite for Rookie of the Year for me. I don't know about you, but I mean, Marv had a good game too, but through 2 games, I think
He had a good game. His team also won too.
that is fair. That is fair.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how in terms of rookie of the year, how much you have to implement, you know, your team's success as well. But yeah,
Yeah.
interesting ideas for sure.
Yeah. Any notes that you have on the Giants or the Commanders? Because I feel like we should probably break down this Commanders team a little bit more as well.
Yeah, just I don't know. You think that Washington would be a little more active in scoring touchdowns. You give the Giants credit, but I think that it's easier to score. Offenses in today's game, it's just easier to score touchdowns than to defend them. So you'd want to see that those a few of those field goals more as touchdowns for Washington going forward. With their new quarterback, especially, he needs to see points on the board, higher scores. So you come out there with a win at home, so that's big. But
Yeah.
yeah, they got to convert more going forward.
Yeah. Jaden Daniels, I noticed that he also tried to stay in the pocket. That's something that we've been talking about since he got drafted. That like he will run before he scrambles in the pocket to try to make something happen. He'll just go straight
Yes.
running, and he took a big shot, got out of the game like a big shot to the ribs. But the way he runs, I mean, I don't blame him for the amount. Like he got first downs on like third
Yeah.
and 14. I think like 3 times. Like
I've always,
he
yeah,
was making
I've always
phenomenal
said,
plays.
I've
Yeah,
always said too, watching Jalen Hurts, if there's yards in front of you and you're just standing in the pocket and you can take them because you're probably not going to get hit either. You can so in those situations you can sort of see in front of you and slide, and they're free yards. So yeah, for to these that's why the mobile quarterback is so popular today and why everybody's looking for it. You got to move the football. Sometimes it's not going to work out with your arm. So if you have feet, you can still be dangerous and dual threat, which is big in today's game, and I think will continue to be bigger. So yeah, I agree with that. Uh, Daniels needs to use his feet. Um, Nearly 50 yards running, 10 rushes. So yeah, use
yeah,
everything you have in your bag.
yeah. I also like I said, like he's just not pushing the ball down the field. Like it's exciting to see Jaden Daniels get these rushes, but I just know as somebody who's watched Daniel Jones be inept at passing the ball down the field for his entire
Yeah,
career, pretty much. Like it's frustrating. Like
yeah,
Jaden Daniels has yet to throw a touchdown pass. He ran for one last week, but yet to throw a touchdown pass. Terry McLaurin has 6 catches for 22 yards. That's because half of those were screens. Which, by the way, the Giants, the first screen, Drew Phillips blew up, and after that, it's like, dude, it's obvious. Like the screen, like you could tell these guys are throwing screens. What are we? Why don't we pull an Andrew Van Ginkel and pick six? You know what I'm saying? Like it was very
yeah,
obvious these screens. I just don't think that we played it well as a defense. But also like this is what you're kind of getting with this Cliff Kingsbury offensive scheme. Like I just think that
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if he just doesn't trust Jaden or Jaden has shown the reason why he won the Heisman is not just because of his legs, it's because he could throw the deep ball to guys like Malik Neighbors. Terry McLaurin isn't getting any of these deep any deep down the field passes, and like that's his bread and butter. And De'Ami Brown too. Like they have a lot of great down the field receivers, and they're just
yeah.
not utilizing them whatsoever.
You
So
gotta wonder with Cliff if a rookie quarterback is what is best for everybody, and we'll see. But obviously, he's a polarizing coach in a lot of ways. Has had success in a lot of places, but also has not had success ultimately as a particular coach. So it's this is an interesting test for everybody, and we'll see how it fares out.
yeah, I'll tell you what though, the Commanders also looks like they found their kicker with Austin Saber, who is 7 for 7. One of the reasons why they won
Yes,
the game. I don't know who had him on fantasy, probably nobody, but yeah, after Cade York shanked, I believe 2 kicks last week, they won the game through kicking this week. And dude, Brian Robinson, he is just such a fun runner. I don't like
Yeah,
him. I don't like watching him against the Giants, but dude, he's just like
right.
a hard-nosed runner. 17 carries, 133 yards. Just looked good. And Austin Eckler is like a really good compliment too. Like
Yeah,
I think nobody was expecting prime Austin Eckler, but having him as a compliment is a lot better than like a Samaje Perine, you know, or one of those other
yeah,
receiving rushing backs. Like for all the bargain bin shopping, I think that was a pretty solid pickup by them.
yeah. Proven. Obviously, he's lost a good bit, but he's still a proven running back. Uh, who compliments who compliments him. And you have to do the committee in Washington because I don't know if Brian Robinson is a great running back or RB1, but you run a committee and you got some talented guys touching the ball throughout the game in the running back position for sure.
Yeah. And then on top of that, Zach Ertz, dude, still looks really good. Like,
Yeah.
still looks really good. I know that he has a soft spot in your heart
Oh yeah,
as an
totally.
Eagles fan, but
That'll
yeah,
that'll that'll never go away. Especially too because the last few years he's looked really shaky. So if he is able to rejuvenate or whatever in terms of making a last 2 year surge.
mm.
Power to him.
Hey, I know he did play really well against the Giants last year when he was on the Cardinals too, because I remember he was just eating up against
Yes.
us in that almost loss in Week 2 last year. So 2 Week 2 games against the Giants where Zach Ertz looks pretty effective. I mean, it's not like he went off, but 64 yards on 4 catches is pretty solid. Not to mention he did draw that pass interference on Drew Phillips that in turn helped him win the game.
True.
Yeah, not really much else to note here. Tyrone Tracy, they keep trying to get him. He only had 1 carry, but like, you know, I do want to see Tyrone Tracy get unleashed
I
eventually.
guess when the game is that close, it's going to be tough to like give him the ball in those situations. So
That's
not
true.
not necessarily a bad thing for him going forward. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of crazy though. The entire offense was really Malik Neighbors. Like Darius
Yes.
Slayton, 3 catches, Wandale 2. You know, Devin Singletary just for a check down, but like there was really nobody else involved. Jalen Hyatt still not really getting that many snaps. I'm sure he's probably not the happiest. I'll tell you what though, Azeez Ojulari made a couple good run tackles for loss, which it just reminded me, oh, Azeez is still on the roster, just sitting back there. Former 2nd round pick. I had a lot of hopes for him. He's kind of fallen back due to injury and whatnot, but yeah, I mean, nothing to be too stoked about. I'm not as angry as most Giants fans are because, to be honest, I was expecting even worse from this. Like,
Yeah.
You know, like I have higher hopes, especially against a Washington defense that I think is arguably one of the worst in the league.
Yes.
But hey, seeing 3 touchdown scores as opposed to 0 last week is just it's nice.
Yeah.
To see. It's nice to see. Like it could have been a lot worse, you know?
Yeah, totally. Reality is your best friend, and if you're able to accept reality, you can see the better things like that. And I do
There's
think
silver linings. Yeah.
Yeah, and I do think it's tough to say, but I do think there's a lot for the Giants to look in favor of going forward after that game in a way.
Yeah. I mean, look at it, dude. Our offensive line is the best that it's played since our Super Bowl run. Like in 2 games,
Yeah.
I mean, we only have allowed 1 sack this game, and that was Cleveland Farrell, like on a little stunt that kind of like shifted through.
Yeah.
Like we looked good, and there wasn't really that much pressure. Obviously, like this is one of the weaker defensive line units in the league, but I mean, John Michael Schmitz played well. The improvement of our 2nd-year center, like there's a lot to write home about. Like obviously, Malik Neighbors is that good. Like the yards after catch, him getting open. Yeah, he had that drop. I'm not going to blame him considering he was the only reason why we were in that game in the first place. So,
Right.
Yeah.
It happens too. The people
Yeah. Yeah. Singletary fumbling the ball too. Like he was also really efficient. So like I'm not going to kill him for it. And that was a nice punch. I believe that was St. Juice that did that. St. Juice or Jeremy Chin. One of those 2 combos. But yeah. All right. Is there any other notes? Because I could talk about the Giants all day, but I
No,
feel
I
like
don't think so.
we got some
Not
more
with
to
this
talk
group.
about.
Yeah,
Yeah, and we'll see how we'll get into the previews, but definitely want to see more from Jaden Daniels. Even if you're a Commanders fan, I'm sure you're
yes,
happy with the win. And Jaden Daniels didn't really make any mistakes per se. Like
yeah,
he was also playing really safe, and you kind of want to see him take some of these
right.
risks. Like he's a
No
rookie;
doubt.
it's okay if he throws a pick. I mean, you see Caleb Williams; he's getting risky. He kind of looks a little garbage too, but we don't cover
Yeah,
the NFC North, so we'll save that for later.
problem. Right.
All right, next game. What a fun game! The Cowboys home opener. The Saints come marching in to the end zone, winning 44-19 against the Dallas Cowboys. And Dallas Cowboys fans are up in arms, and I think it's hilarious. I remember I went to the grocery store right before this game. I'm wearing my Giants jersey. I see a Cowboys fan. He's like, man, you got to get a quarterback too. I was like, hey, you just paid yours. He's like, for what? For what? For what? I don't know. Because for what? I don't know. To throw 2 interceptions in a game against the Saints that, I mean, going into the season, I think the Cowboys had this written off as one of their easy wins. But the Saints
Yeah,
look really good under their new offensive coordinator, Clint Kubiak, man.
the guy who I wanted the Eagles to get too.
Yeah? How do
Yep.
you think he would have been better than Kellen Moore?
Well, we can get into this later, but
Yeah.
I liked him more than Kellen Moore. But I
Yeah.
still think Kellen Moore. I still like Kellen Moore. I think he'll be good going forward. But Clint was top 2 guy for me at the time.
Yeah. But let's get into this game.
Yeah.
It was over by half, I would say,
Yes.
with just the Cowboys defense getting scorched. Alvin Kamara could do no wrong. The Cowboys defensive line looked awful. Pass defense did not look good. Rashid Shaheed with Derek Carr is just such an unreal combo. And I actually kind of like that he's number 22, kind of stands out. It's kind of weird seeing these wide receivers
It is
wear running
weird.
back numbers, especially like yesterday in the Falcons.
Ray
Game, like
McLeod.
Ray McLeod wearing
Yeah.
34. It's weird.
34.
But
That's weird.
it is weird. But uh, yeah, Cowboys fans, not a lot to be excited about, especially with Dak Prescott throwing 2 interceptions too in a game where he really couldn't make any mistakes. Cowboys rushing game couldn't get going either. Obviously, they got down early, so you don't rely on it. But it's nice to mix it up and just really no real efficiency from that running back room, which is just like we said. I think last week I spoke too soon. I was like, all of those weaknesses don't look that weak.
Yep.
All their weaknesses look pretty weak. Terrence Steele had a real shaky game, allowing a sack. Tyler Guyton didn't look good in the run game. Also allowed a sack. I mean, he's a rookie. You got to, Cooper Beebe, I did see graded pretty well and is looking pretty good through 2 games. So I guess that's something to write home about. But if your rookie center is your highlight against a Saints team that just put 44 points up on your defense,
Yeah.
it is not great.
Right.
Jeremy, any thoughts on this Cowboys performance?
Yeah, I mean, you don't have a run game. You have the worst running back room probably in the history of running back rooms, not just the NFL, college, high school, Pop Warner, Pee Wee stuff. It's just really bad. They ran the ball. Let me do the math. They ran the ball 13, 15, 19, and 21 times for. Oh God.
Here, I got it on the overview here. For 68
Maybe like
yards.
68 yards.
68 yards, yeah.
Yeah, awful. There's not there's just nothing to like. Rico Dowdle gets the most carries. I don't even know if he's a backup. Truly, I think he's like a 3rd-string running back. Zeke Elliott, 6 touches for the run, 16 yards. They keep trying to do Deuce Vaughn. He's too small.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like everything that I've seen, and he's a fun player, but like he's like I don't know, like a complimentary, but when your whole backfield is complimentary backs, they're not really complimenting
Yes.
anything. You're just like
Yes.
just taking turns trying to get a nice 3-4 yards. But yeah,
I don't get what they're like. The reason when Dak Prescott is good, it's because he's a good running back group to complement him.
mm-hmm.
And there's it's not even like, oh, they're not running the ball well, or it's not like great running backs, but there's some options, realistic options. I, the running backs are just bad. All of
I mean,
them. You can't look
yeah,
at Zeke and be like, that's going to be my bell cow. You can't look at Rico Dowdle and be like, that's my RB1. Just really bad running backs. And they continuously toss them out. I don't know what the plan. They told the entire world that they wanted Jonathan Brooks before the draft. Panthers take him. Obviously, he's still, I think, hurt, but he'll
yeah,
be back.
yeah,
I think he'll be back later this year. At least with that, you'd have like something to look forward to, and like in an option going forward for 3-4 years. Oh
yeah,
my god, they just I don't get how a team could ever approach the running back room the way they did.
yeah, and the defense too. The defense, which
Yeah,
you would still think is a strong point, but like we've talked about their lack of defensive tackle talent. Like Mozzie Smith, I know they took in the first round last year, but he couldn't really do anything against the run either. It was just they got run down by Alvin Kamara, which by the way everybody was writing off,
yes,
and he looks like the best running back in the league still. He's still Alvin Kamara. I don't know if
yeah,
that's because Clint Kubiak, but the way he was running
definitely.
all over him. I mean, total, let's see here, 180 yards total by Alvin Kamara on 22 touches, 4 touchdowns, which, by the way, I was playing Alvin Kamara and James Cook in fantasy, and I still beat him, dude. That's 7 total touchdowns right there, and I still won.
It's a lot.
You just can't give up. Yeah, like I said, like in the past, defense didn't really do much either, which I'm surprised because this Saints offensive line was like one of their weak spots going into the
Right.
season, and I figured that the Cowboys would take advantage of that, but only getting 1 sack on Derek Carr with Chauncey Golston of all people.
Yes.
Yeah, I just don't think they took advantage of the weaknesses that the Saints have, and then instead the Saints exploited them with their strengths on offense, and defensively, the Saints also, I think, have a very underrated defense and kept the Cowboys in check.
It's looking good. It looks like the Saints ran for 175 yards, so that keeps defensive ends unable to sack the quarterback, obviously. And we have someone like Derek Carr, who I think is okay, but also has had a lot of deficiencies and it's been really troubling throughout his career. If he's only throwing the ball 16 times, not a lot of opportunity to get the ball back from him. And he still had an interception of those 16 throws. So
Yeah,
good balance between the Saints. That's a good, I think, a good game plan, and just a punishing game plan too. They just ran Dallas out of AT&T Stadium, which is pretty impressive. So yeah,
hey, but you know what? Brandon Aubrey did look pretty good for the Cowboys, so that is a plus. Huh?
yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
no, just and this Cowboys team is also going up against a very hungry 0-2 Ravens team next week
yes,
at home. So we'll see how that all shakes out.
right. Hopefully the Ravens aren't just frauds, but yeah, they have a very angry 0-2 Baltimore team, which
Yeah.
uh, I obviously love. So we'll see if that could be big.
Yeah. Any other notes here for the Cowboys? I mean, CeeDee Lamb had a pretty solid game. He had that one really long reception, but
Yeah, problem
only
with
finished with 90 yards and only 4 catches. You know, I feel like he needs to be involved a little bit more,
that's the
especially
problem.
when you're down.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what I was going to say with the problem with CD's game. Yards wise, 90, good. Score, obviously, very good. 4 catches. He needs to be more involved. He needs to be honestly 8 to 9 with with the talent around him, with the no running game, 4 catches. That's such a win for the Saints, and that tells a story too. I think the Cowboys were beat up towards some point and just like didn't know how to function, but 4 catches for CD, not enough at all to take the Cowboys seriously going forward. If you want to beat them,
Yeah,
or if you want to beat them, if the Cowboys want to win games, you need the top 5 receiver to have more than 4 catches. The score helps, the 90 yards
and only
helps,
and only
but
seven
it's not
targets
it's
too.
not
That's
active
the thing.
enough.
Only 7 targets. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, I know that you want to spread the ball around, but with Tolbert, Schoonmaker actually looked okay in relief of Jake Ferguson. He had an efficient game, but
yeah.
Brandon Cooks is your number 2, only getting 19 yards. Like, I think maybe you got to kind of hammer CeeDee Lamb, and I know that he was getting locked up by Kool-Aid McKinstry. Was Marshawn Lattimore out of this game? Yeah,
I am not sure.
looks like it. Yeah, but hey, just a good showing overall by the Saints, and honestly, a little bit of a sleeper team, because that was another team that I thought would be one of the more beatable teams. But right now, the Saints are looking pretty good,
Yeah, they're surprising. Them and the Bucks are a little surprising in the NFC so
and the
far.
Falcons too. Do you want to anything else you want to talk about for this Cowboys game before we get into the Eagles?
No, we could. Yeah, I just one quick point. Like
Yeah,
the 7 targets too for CD.
yeah,
Not enough, obviously, but nearly half of his targets didn't amount to a catch, more or less close, 3.
yeah.
So that to me is just too. Even though it's such a small sample size with 7 to begin with, that's too high of whatever target ratio to completion. They have to figure that out too with CD, because if he's catching 4 balls and then he's getting 3 more his way, and it's not going to him. Obviously, more targets for sure. That'll help, but you're not getting enough uh, for the amount of times you're going his way, ultimately, because it's like half and half at that point. That's crazy.
Listen, I mean, it's not a good recipe when you only have like one star player to base your
Yes.
offense on. Just like how the
Yep.
Giants, like, we pretty much only relied on Malik Neighbors, but at least we were able to get Devin Singletary going. Still resulted in
Right.
a loss. Whatever. The Cowboys don't have that running back, so when your entire offense is CeeDee Lamb, like and it is, because Jake Ferguson,
Yeah.
I think, is a really good threat too. Schoonmaker, like I said, played all right. 6 catches, 43 yards, whatever. But nobody's scared of Schoonmaker. Nobody's really scared of Jalen Tolbert. Nobody's really scared of Cooks, and the running
Right.
game just is not a threat whatsoever. So that allows teams like the Saints to kind of shut down a CeeDee Lamb, which is what seems to be the case in this game. But still, like, it doesn't matter. You got to scheme up some stuff for CeeDee Lamb, because he's your playmaker. He has that yak ability. He has the ability to get open. He's a
Yep.
superstar receiver. He's a top 3, top 5 receiver in the league. Especially in a game like this where the Saints are destroying your defense, you need to kind of unleash your offense to have a chance.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that is my takeaway. Also, there's some rumors that Trey Lance might get traded to the Dolphins. I don't know if there's any validity there, but yeah, I don't know.
I just don't get, like, if you're the Dolphins, why would you turn?
Why would you want a project like Trey Lance?
Yeah,
Like,
like
that's really
what
what it is.
exactly? There's nothing short with Trey Lance to begin. Yeah, it's silly.
Yeah, no, I think so too. All right, you ready to talk about the Monday night matchup, Jeremy?
Honestly, when the Eagles lose like this, I have so many thoughts and so many words, and I have to just speak them. So
So get into it,
ready,
dude.
yes. Mentally, probably not. But
Yeah, I'll
yeah,
set you up here. And the Atlanta Falcons on Monday night go into the link, and the Dirty Birds get the win, 22-21. Jeremy, let it all out, buddy.
just bad. Thank you for the intro, Sean. Just bad. The team is not as good as we thought. AJ Brown didn't play, which real not good to begin with. They still should have won. Don't get me wrong. I'm not making excuses for them. But he is AJ Brown is the best player on this Eagles team. And this team is just so much different when he's not on the team. The playbook changes. Obviously, I get that it changes a little bit, but it changes so much in such a drastic negative way. There's no plays designed downfield for receivers. There's nothing. There's no shots taken downfields without AJ.
Mhm.
There's a lot of relied on Saquon more a little bit, which is fine, but you still have so much talent to throw to. Uh, Dotson started on the outside. He's only been here 3 weeks. I get that it's tough to implement him this early. It would have been nice if he could be a little more ready-ish, but I get it's just so early to expect anything realistic from him, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If you disagree, that's I can
No,
understand.
I don't like the way they utilized him, especially because he was the one part of my parlay that didn't hit.
Yes, that
Two
too. Right.
parlays. Dude, I mean, they were utilizing him in a downfield role, and I feel like he should have been in that Britton Covey role, where Britton Covey had all this
Sure, that would have
like,
been
short
interesting.
stuff designed, and I think that Jahan Dotson, I think, is a better athlete. And
That
I mean,
role,
Britton
yeah,
Covey was okay, but I think that Jahan Dotson is a little bit more explosive and
that
could
role that
affect it.
Sean mentioned.
Yeah.
Britt Covey had 6 catches all around the line of scrimmage going forward, so he's active in the catch game. Problem is, he only had 23 yards because if you lay a finger on him, he'll go back 5 yards. That's not a knock on Britt Covey. He's just very small and he just moves backwards a lot if you hit him, which I get. It was nice seeing him sort of be involved in the offense because he does have talent and he can move forward. So that was nice. You want a little more out of the yardage there. So we'll see.
Yeah,
Uh,
I just don't like what they were doing with Jahan Dotson. I just felt
oh yeah,
like
me either. Yeah,
they all this deep down the field stuff. Like he should be schemed up for this quick stuff with his yak ability and also his separation ability.
yeah,
Get him in those
yeah,
quick schemed up. Because I mean, looking at the box score and just watching the game too, it was
yeah,
really like Devonta Smith
yeah.
was the whole game plan for the offense. And then if he's
And they
not
didn't go
there,
and they didn't go at him enough. They should
no,
be
I
getting
don't
the
think
ball
so.
more often. There's no yak in this offense either. It's like if you see someone down, like if you get a completion, they're going to be swarmed immediately and tackled. So there's nothing for like receivers to like. There's no play design where they can create on their own with their footwork or whatever after catch.
Hmm.
Um, Goddard a little bit implemented, but Calc also was equally as much so, maybe even more. I don't know what's going on there. Saquon, great game, had a drop towards the end, which kills, but shouldn't
Yeah,
have been in that situation. Should have been running the ball at that point. So it's just an idiotic
yeah,
play call
that's a
from the
dumb play
beginning.
call.
I
And
it's just, go ahead.
sorry, I think it's dude. I saw so many Giants fans post like, "Oh, Saquon Barkley butterfingers to lose the game." Guess what? That's what Malik Neighbors did for us too. Like literally the
That's all.
exact same
Yeah,
thing.
true.
So it's I mean, yes, I love that. I also love that he didn't score that touchdown that he got stopped in
Yes.
the whatever on
Right.
the goal line. But yeah, I mean
Yeah.
Saquon still looked really good. He started off the game. I think he was getting like 10 yards off rip for like
Yeah, it was
three
like
straight
10,
carries.
9,
Yeah,
11, and then 9 again. It was like, and then they abandoned the run in the second quarter. It was
yeah,
very
I thought that was
weird.
very weird. Yeah.
Um, and it's just, yeah, they don't put away teams to say the least. Although this was a game where like it was really going to be last year with the ball wins essentially, and then they go down with 35 seconds. They get a first down. They have the ball at the 42 with 27 seconds. One timeout. You're the best kicker in the NFL, and your quarterback floats the ball like he does a lot. We've seen it before and throws a brutal interception to end the game.
Yeah.
No, it's not completely on Jalen Hurts for the game. He did essentially lose the game because he didn't give the Eagles a chance. He didn't give Jake Elliott a chance. Really discouraging. Another really bad read by him late in the game.
Hmm.
It seems like the moments are too big, and he isn't able to process how significant the moment is, and that's when he sort of just like goes unhinged and just like throws it wildly and just like poorly. I can't confirm that. It just doesn't seem like he like the moments that he knows are he realizes it and he just like panics.
Yeah,
But
that interception was ugly. Obviously, like it was close. I mean, that was down to like the last, 20, 30 seconds. But the way that Kirk Cousins just executed that 2 minute
yeah,
game was honestly unreal. Like, and Kirk Cousins, who, in the beginning of his career and even just like a few years ago was known for choking in primetime games. And
oh
he
yeah,
he looked unfazed. That's another
we've
thing
had
that I
his
want to get
number.
into. Yeah. What was that?
Yeah, we've had his number the last few years on primetime games in Philly. Yeah, defense was awful. There's no pass rush to this team.
That's
There's
what I'm
no pride.
saying.
There's no heart. Jordan Davis is probably the worst player in NFL history. They had they had Kyle Hamilton available, which would have been a great pick. They don't take him. They take Jordan Davis. He cannot get to the quarterback. He cannot stop the run. He is might be a glorified nose tackle. It doesn't do anything. Your cat would be better in the middle of that defense than Jordan Davis. So bad.
Yeah.
None of the Georgia players have showed anything. Like Jalen Carter, I love him, but he hasn't been like great. I thought he was okay-ish against the Packers. I don't know. I thought he was fine. He didn't do much last night. Uh
Yeah.
Nick,
Milton Williams actually had a good game though. Milton
who?
Williams got your low. Milton Williams got
Bill
your low
Williams is
sack.
nice. I've always liked Milt. It's sort of every year you sort of say next year's the year where he'll be breakout. Yeah, I like Milt a lot. That was he played well. Um,
C.J. Gardner
secondary was
Johnson looked pretty okay.
yeah, he had a nice stop on fourth down, which we thought would be the game more or less. Of
Hmm.
course, it wasn't. Um, secondary, you can't really blame them because there's no pressure. I do think there are a lot of times where there are completions downfield, middle of the field, where there's three Eagles secondary defenders in the middle, and it's just caught all the time. And they're always like 7 yards off. So they were fortunate because a lot of times like were diving catches or like catches where the Falcons were ultimately on the ground because of the way the ball was thrown to them. But
Hmm.
like they need to be closer up, in my opinion. Still not really the secondary's fault mostly with the way there's no pass rush. It's just bad. They let Bijan run, obviously a very good runner, but they let Tyler run too pretty wildly, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So just bad, really bad, disappointing. This defense sucks. Offense, even without AJ, only scored 21 points. It's mind boggling. Only two touchdowns. It's just bad. Too much money going to the offense for that to happen. Too much talent on this team for that to happen. Uh, yeah, just outrageous. I it's I think Jalen had 23 completions for 183 yards. I think that comes out to 7.9 yards per completion. Not good enough. Not in the NFL. He did run the ball well. Like there were running yards there, and Saquon ran the ball too well. But the reason you can see how they lost because the completion game just wasn't anywhere close to good enough.
Yeah. I'll tell you what though, that is something that at least looking forward throughout the season, Jalen Hurts and his ability to run again. I mean, that
Yeah,
was one of the big compliments that allowed him to be an MVP
no
candidate
doubt.
during your Super Bowl run. And he looked good. Like he looks healthy. That's at least
Yes.
A plus looking forward to the season. Yeah, but I would agree. You're like for an Eagles defense that their defensive line has always been one of your biggest takeaways.
Yep.
You couldn't stop the run and you couldn't rush the passer. Rush
Yeah.
the passer. I mean, that's just like and you need it. You really have. I mean, I feel like you haven't really seen much out of your big addition in
Bryce Huff is bad,
Bryce Huff.
but
Yeah, Bryce Huff. I
I
feel like
don't
hasn't
think
really
I don't
shown
think other
anything.
teams I don't think other teams were giving him 51 minutes. So like I don't even blame Bryce Huff. I think it's just a bad move by Howie. Nolan Smith, not good. I thought Nolan Smith was okay against the Packers too.
Mm-hmm.
Not amazing, but I thought that he was kind of getting in the backfield towards the end ish, a little getting behind Jordan Love a little bit. Bad game from him. Josh Sweat hasn't had a sack since the forward pass was invented in 1944. I can't believe they brought him. He is so bad. I can't believe they brought him back when they were this close to not doing so. This or whatever.
Yeah, probably
Uh,
should have kept this on, huh?
yeah, well, that's the thing too. Like, you know what you're going to get with Hassan. You're going to get double-digit sacks. You're going to get a few missed sacks here and there, but he's always going to provide pressure. And his bad years, he's only going to have 12 sacks. Sign me up for that. If I'm the
Yeah,
Eagles, I don't even know if this team gets 12 sacks to finish the year. So I'll
dude,
gladly
and,
take
and
12.
you're talking about the defensive line that like had what 5, 10, or double-digit sack defensive linemen
Yeah,
in
you're right. It's only a
2022.
few years
Yeah,
ago. You're right. Yes.
yeah. So that's why it's just such a fall from grace. Quinton Mitchell, I saw he allowed a few completions, but even just watching him play, like there was this one completion, I think it was to Darnell Mooney, and he was just like kind of off coverage. I think that was Kirk Cousins taking advantage of the coverage, but he was able to
Yeah.
just like click and close quick. Like he is so fluid in flipping his hips. I wouldn't say he played a great game, but like, I mean, the talent is definitely there for
I think Leon played
Quinton
pretty
Mitchell.
well. I think that some of the coverage packages that the Eagles run are, again, with this bend don't break, are going to be very favorable to a quarterback, a veteran quarterback like Kirk, and competent receivers, which Atlanta I think has, and I think they have decent talent pass catchers. So I thought Quinyon had a few pass breakups, almost had an interception too. I thought he was fine personally. There are going to be times where obviously some people get catches, but like
Yeah,
uh, I've been
yeah,
impressed to see he's been such a non-rookie quarterback for the Eagles that we've usually seen. He's physical, he's confident, he makes plays. I haven't seen an interception yet, but makes pass breakups and stuff like that.
yeah.
Breath of fresh air. But otherwise, the other 10 players on defense just miss me.
Yeah, even CJ. Like I did compliment. I mean, dude, that CJ Gardner Johnson run stop on
Yes.
Bijan was
Great
sick.
play.
Was
Yeah.
sick. But he also allowed that touchdown to Darnell Mooney. Like he just like
Yeah.
Darnell Mooney, a small guy, just kind of like rolled him right off of his back.
I think
So
there should have been a cornerback carrying with CJ there too. But yeah, CJ also got lost in the sauce in terms of tackling there. Zach Bond, there was like a 30-16. They make a throw over the top of the middle. Would have been for 5-6 yards, would have been 4th and 10, and Atlanta would have punted. Zach Bond misses a tackle, so it becomes like 4th and 2. Atlanta that goes for it and gets it. A lot of missed tackles, a lot of really bad penalties
mhm.
on the
Yeah,
offensive
a
line.
lot of offensive lines down the field calls.
Some of them. So I'll say this about that: either Nick Sirianni has no idea about that rule,
Hmm.
or the Eagles are running it correctly and the refs are calling it wrong. Because there were a few times the one on Landon I thought was like, excuse me, the one on Landon I thought was weird because it's like if you get the ball out early on RPO, how is it? How is the lineman downfield illegally if the ball's already out? So I don't know. We have to figure that out. But yeah, it's just the same mistakes over and over again. Vic Fangio kind of looking like a fraud. I get that the players aren't like amazing, but they're better than last year,
They
I
should
think.
be.
And,
I mean,
and
the talent is there. The
they're,
performance is
they're
there.
players for sure. And his scheme should also contribute to success too. And it's not. So uh I just can't believe they lost the game, but hopefully it lights something underneath them because if not, it's going to be a long, forgettable season again. That's too similar to like there's just too many play calls by Sirianni that lost the game, and that wasn't the case last year. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like a
Yeah.
Giants fan. It's sad.
Yeah, hey, dude, I'll tell you what, man. Like it was good to see, especially with your defense struggling too. I feel like that was always like a mainstay, like especially because Jalen Hurts didn't play as bad or inconsistent. He didn't have all the mistakes that he had in that Packers game, which you guys ended up winning.
Yeah,
But he still has that in his repertoire, and then usually you had your defense to save you. And the whole thing with how Kirk Cousins struggled against those Steelers and why they lost to the Steelers in
Yep.
week 1 is because he couldn't handle the pressure and he just didn't look mobile. I feel like
Yeah.
he wasn't pressured really at all in that game by you guys.
No.
Like it seemed like he had plenty of time to throw. He looked confident. He didn't look rushed, especially on that 2-minute drive. Like it was, I mean, they marched down the field easy.
And then
Just
the
big
Brandon,
20-yard play after 20-yard chunk play.
the one Brandon Graham sack, N'Kobe Dean illegal contact downfield. It was bad.
Yeah.
Like he like smacked the guy for like no. Oh my god, just bench him. Bench. Start benching guys for making stupid plays like that. I don't know. I don't know what to do.
Well, you got Devin White waiting in the wings. I heard he's pretty upset that he lost a job to N'Kobe Dean.
Well, speaking about him, he was a healthy scratch. I don't think he's going to take a snap as an Eagle.
Really? Yeah. It's kind of like the same thing with Shaq Leonard, who you guys picked up last year. It's like these guys are like big names who played well, but like it's like there's, Shaq Leonard was at least a really good linebacker at one point. Devin White, I feel like, was all name, made some big plays, but in terms of doing his job here, let me fix this real quick.
Yeah.
Here, I just lost this. All right, there we go. We good?
Yes, all good.
I just switched my camera up because I think we lost it real quick. Anything else you want to talk about this Eagles team before we get into
defense just really, really bad. It's really hard. You really question picking them against the Saints next week. I don't know. Just bad. It's all bad. Losing because of coaching is not fun. It's getting old, and I wasn't for firing Sirianni in the offseason. That game plan, I'm changed. If this keeps up, see ya. He's just got to go.
Fair. And honestly,
he doesn't call plays. He doesn't call plays either. It's like, what do you do? Oh, whatever. Football.
Yeah, he has a. Yeah, it's fun. It's such a fun game. I mean, and I could say the same thing about the New York Football Giants. Like, I think that there's a lot more people questioning Brian Daboll, especially how he handled the game. And I think all the Cowboys fans are ready for Mike Zimmer and Mike.
Oh yeah. I mean, I just can't believe McCarthy's been there that long. It's a Dallas thing, I guess, but yeah.
Yeah, Jason Garrett was there for way too long too. So it's
yep. I was about to make that comment too. Yep. Yeah. Completely right.
And now he's just poisoning our ears being in the booth. Like, I just want to rid my life of Jason Garrett.
He's so boring.
Yeah, I think he's who. Well, I mean, Daniel Jones kind of ruined Daniel Jones, but I think that Jason Garrett played a pretty big hand in that too.
I wouldn't disagree with that. Yes.
All right. You ready to move on to our fantasy?
Yes.
All right. So me and Jeremy did a best ball fantasy league where it's only NFC East players, which we drafted. So we play the best quarterback, the 2 best running backs, 2 best wide receivers, and a tight end. All right, let me go through these were my best ball finalists. Quarterback, Daniel Jones, 19.7. I believe that was one of the better quarterback scores of the week. Running back, Devin Singletary, getting some work in at 16 points. Then I had Austin Eckler as my running back 2 with 10 points. This is half-point PPR, by the way. CeeDee Lamb comes in there with 17 points. Malik Neighbors comes in with 23.7. And then Wan'Dale Robinson in my slot at 8.8. And then since my tight ends were Jake Ferguson, Theo Johnson, and Ben Sinnott, I had 0 points for the tight end position.
Wow.
Which was, yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Jeremy.
So your final number was
95.2 total.
Okay. I'll recount this later. I still think I lost, but Jalen Hurts 25.5. Very good. I'll take that. Saquon Barkley 15.6. Probably need a little more there. Brian Robinson, nice 15.1. Devontae Smith 17.1. Terry McLaurin 5.2. Needed more there. Goddard 5.3. I guess that's what to expect there. And I had Darius Slayton with 4.8, which I think, assuming everything is right, I'll have to double check a few of the point scores, but that came out to 88 and a half.
All right. So I think we agreed on doing shots for the loser. You got a shot ready for you, Jeremy?
I don't have one ready. I'll recheck my math and I'll do it next podcast, assuming everything checks out. I think it will, but
Well, I that's okay. Do the math.
so
I did lose last week, and I didn't have a shot ready, and this might help with my ankle, which is, if you didn't catch in the beginning, is obliterated by trying to recreate that Malik Neighbors catch. So, and Coral, thank you for pouring this all the way to the brim. This is not a wimpy shot. This is a lot of rye bourbon right here. Okay, here we go. To being a loser as a Giants fan and as a NFC East best ball fantasy player. Here we go. Empty.
There you go.
Whew. All right. Now that I got that in me, are you ready to preview next week's games, Jeremy?
Yes. Different than I thought I was going to preview it, but we have teams that are looking like frauds who didn't think they were going to be frauds in the NFC East. So, yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. So you want to start? There's 2 1:00 Eastern games. You got the Eagles and the Giants. Which one do you want to start with?
We could do Giants.
Giants. Okay, the New York Football Giants head to Cleveland to play the 1-1 Browns. The 1-1 Browns, who actually looked a lot better against the Jags last week. Deshaun Watson wasn't the entire reason why they lost. It was still a close game. I don't think that these Browns are the same Browns defensively as they were a couple years back.
Also played a bad Jacksonville team.
Yeah, a bad Jacksonville team for sure. This is going to be. It's probably okay. After and I should have mentioned this earlier. After seeing the Vikings beat the Niners and Brock Purdy talk about how insane Brian Flores' defense was, and then the Giants obviously played one of the most inept defenses in the Commanders last week. So this will be a good test because I think the Browns still have a really great defense. Our offensive line has been really great, but we really haven't protected against any elite pass rushers like Myles Garrett. Right. So that's a good test that I'm kind of looking for there. Because I mean the best edge rusher I think we played is Jonathan Grenard or / Andrew Van Ginkel, which good, above average, but not anywhere near any elite categories. I'm curious to see how Denzel Ward is going to be playing Malik Neighbors. I'm also very curious to see if Daniel Jones can keep up another good game. Because even though he had a great game, I mean, we were talking after week 1, if he even was going to get an opportunity to play week 2. I think he looked good week 2, didn't really make any mistakes. His deep balls were a little off with Malik Neighbors. I do think that that's going to be more of a something he's going to push. That's what Brian Daboll said. He made the attempts, was a little off with Malik Neighbors. Hopefully they can iron that out in practice, but we're going to need that. We're going to need some explosive plays from Malik Neighbors. The run defense for the Browns, I think they have some good pieces. They have our old friend Dalvin Tomlinson. They have some key pieces. They have Jeremiah Owusu, JOK. I don't even know Koroma. JOK, their linebacker, who's I think one of the best, most athletic linebackers in the league on the Browns. So I'm curious to see how our run game goes. Let's hope Devin Singletary can kind of build on what he did last week and just be that consistent. He had a couple breaks, which was good because Devin Singletary, the reason why we got him is because he's a consistent 3, 4, 5 yard run type of back. But hopefully he can have some explosives and keep them honest. I do want to see a little bit more of Wandale. I thought Wandale kind of got shut down. Obviously he had a touchdown, but I believe he only had 2 receptions against the Commanders, where he was targeted quite often in that first game. I think obviously Malik Neighbors should be your number one read. But if Malik Neighbors also got a lot more single coverage against the Commanders, I feel like after the game he just had, I wouldn't doubt if there's a lot more double coverage on Malik, because considering he was our entire offense. So if you get those looks, I think we have to be looking for Wan'Dale or Darius Slayton down the sideline, or Jalen Hyatt if he gets any play. I definitely think the pass rush needs to come through this week, though. We haven't seen anything. Brian Burns, we paid all the money. Kayvon Thibodeau, high draft pick, 0 sacks through 2 weeks. We got to see some sacks. That's familiar. a big game. Jeremy, do you got anything that you would want to talk about here while I pull up the spread?
Yeah, I don't think, oddly enough, even though it's in Cleveland, I don't think that's going to phase the Giants too much. Honestly, we've seen them lose at home. We've seen them lose on the road. But we've also seen them come out with some games on the road too, and then you see them against Minnesota week 1 at home, and they just look terrible. So long story short, I don't think phase them to be in Cleveland. I just don't think this is the game where it'd be this is going to be the win. If Deshaun protects the ball, even if he's not special, I the run game for Cleveland. I still think Cleveland has playmakers too on the outside as receivers. I think their defense is good and can play well, especially against a shaky Daniel Jones. I guess I don't think that they'll be phased. Maybe they can make it a game too, a close game towards the end. I just don't know if I'd pick them to get a win. It'll be interesting to hear the lines, but I guess I just don't have them favored to win at game 1 in Cleveland. Crazier things have happened. I wouldn't be surprised, I guess, if they won, or too surprised. But
after week 2, I feel like anything is possible again.
Sorry for no doubt.
But you're totally right, because Daniel Jones actually said, I'm excited to be playing in Washington. After week 1, dude, getting the boos from your home crowd.
That's a good point.
I feel like I think that he might be performing better at away games. And
no
by
doubt.
the way, I'm not a huge fan of are you pissed? But booing, the whole home field advantage thing is making your team feel loved and supported. Booing Daniel Jones for playing like shit is just going to make him play like more shit, to be honest, in my opinion.
Yes, I've said that too. I've said I Eagles fans love to be heard, and if it's a bad first half, they'll boo them going to the locker room. It's different here, but ultimately, it doesn't have an impact. They're not going to be like, "Oh, I didn't know we were playing badly." Now they're booing. So after the game, Daniel Jones got a lot of boos after week 1. But I don't think where the game's played. I think it helps as a way. Cleveland's interesting. They have a fiery fan base, but it's also kind of blah too. So maybe that could help Daniel Jones just settle down a little for 60 minutes.
Yeah, I'm curious to see. So I feel like Elijah Moore has kind of taken over the David Njoku role, who I loved Elijah Moore coming out of college. So that'll be a test for Drew Phillips, who played great last week. So I kind of want to see that coming out of the slot. And Jerry Jeudy, despite all of his ineptitude as being overhyped wide receiver, who I really loved coming into the NFL, your Bama boy. He's played okay too for his first 2 games as a Brown. He's not.
He is what he is.
Yeah, he's not an elite receiver, but he's a really good wide receiver too, I'd say. He's not Devonta Smith, but he's sufficient. Yeah. And Amari Cooper finally looked okay last week after having a awful week 1 against the Cowboys. So the spread is Giants +6, over under at 38.5. So I think they think this is going to be a defensively owned game. I think that they see the Giants as inept, and I think they see the Browns offense as inept.
Sorry, what was the line again?
+6 for the New York Football Giants, and the over/under is set at 38.5. Jeremy, what are your picks?
Give me the Giants in points.
I like that too.
Give me the Browns outright. 6 is massive. It's weird though, because we're seeing a lot of those lines the last few years in the NFL, and it's kind of weird and then you see the games play out, and the team that's just much better wins by like 25. So there's something to that, but I think 6 is massive. I'll go. 21-17 seems to be calling my name, so I'll go 21-17 Browns.
So that would be the under. That would be
Yes.
the under. Yeah. And honestly, like I could see that. Like I don't know. I hope the Giants keep up. Like seeing 3 touchdowns, man. But this brings us back to like just 2 years ago. The Giants, I don't think could get over 20 points in a game. So hopefully we find our kicker. As of right now, I feel like we still have
if you
not
do
found our
have a
kicker.
kicker, and you told me now you're going to score 3 touchdowns, at least have 21 points.
Yeah.
Interesting number. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. You know what? I feel good about last week, and I think the Giants need to like correct some things. I think that we should have walked away with a win. I think that we were the better team last week, and I think they want to prove that. And the Browns team, I feel like, has a lot of weaknesses that we can take advantage of. So if Brian Daboll wants to keep his job, he will game plan accordingly and get his first win of the season. And Shane Bowen, keep that bend, don't break, but maybe don't bend so much where they score a field goal every single drive.
Right.
So I'm going to take Giants with the points. I also think the Giants can win this game, but I'm just going to take the points for now just to be safe. And I will take the over. I'm going to take the over on that. Okay. Next game, Jeremy, I will let you take the lead on this one, but the Eagles go to NOLA.
Yes.
1 o'clock game against the Saints. What are you feeling about this?
The Saints look good. They look good defensively. They look good offensively. The Eagles are bad defensively and bad against the run, and I think that's the Saints' big thing for their offense with Kamara. Interesting game. I think the Eagles are going to have to really fight for it, but I don't. I think the Saints win ultimately.
Wow. Well, that's what Vegas is saying. And actually the odds are changing. I'm looking at this right now. They've changed like 3 times while you talked for like 2 minutes.
It opened, so that's actually just to interrupt you to add context. After the Saints smacked Dallas, the lines opened up Sunday night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Sunday night. Eagles -3.5, I think.
Yeah.
On the road too.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see where it is now.
Wait, so the line's opened at Eagles -3.5?
I believe so, but I could be wrong.
Where do you think they are right now?
Saints 3.5.
Saints -3.5?
No, Saints
plus
2.5.
Saints plus 2.5.
Saints -2.5.
That's
Saints
what it started at when we first started talking. It's actually since moved to Saints -3.
Okay.
Which is nuts.
Yes.
Nuts that bounce. I think the Eagles like not taking advantage of the poor Kirk Cousins pocket play that we saw in week 1. Because I think that's dude. And honestly, like you said, like you're kind of struggling in defending the run. Your linebacker play is shaky. Alvin Kamara, I feel like, could take advantage of your defense this week.
Oh yeah,
and maybe we won't see the explosives from Rashid Shaheed, but and Chris Olave too, which I feel like is playing second fiddle to Rashid Shaheed, which is kind of funny through 2 weeks.
Yeah,
but
it's all about how the Eagles can adjust and make enough adjustments for one game, at least for the Saints, and it'll be a tall order to get over that hump with the talent that they have with Kamara.
I would like you to make your pick before I make my pick, if that's okay. What are you thinking? The spread, like I said, Eagles +3, over under 49.5.
Over.
Yeah, if the Saints are putting up 44 again, you definitely have to do the over.
Yes. 28-24, Saints cover.
Damn, dude, it's kind of nice seeing you humble as an Eagles fan. But you've been like a
I'm,
relatively
yes,
level-headed
I'm,
Eagles
I'm
fan.
realistic. Thank you. And it might be a bit of an overreaction after the last 12-ish hours or a little longer. But yeah, I mean, it's dire times, it feels like. Week 2 already. Just not good.
Yeah, uh, yeah. I actually I think the Saints -3 I will take, but I could also see the Eagles covering. I could see the Eagles winning, but the way the Saints team is
Yeah.
rolling, I think this is going to really show who the Saints are. I think this week, like if they come out rolling and their offense is still unstoppable against, let's be real, like your Eagles defense has been shaky through 2 weeks. Like they
Oh, yeah.
allowed the Falcons, who looked awful against the Steelers, who have a good defense, to look pretty solid, and then the Packers too had put up 29 points on you guys. So the Saints, who look
Yeah.
like an offensive powerhouse with Derek Carr behind center, who would expect that? Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. And also their defense, like I said, like their defense held Dallas to 19 points, and they're better than I feel like you would look at on paper. So
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Anything else you want to say before we move on to this Cowboys Ravens game?
Now let's finish it off.
All right, Cowboys Ravens. Cowboys are home again with the 0-2 Ravens, which we mentioned are very hungry going in here. And this
Yes.
game is currently a pick 'em. But I think that Dallas is getting that home point spread there because the Ravens are -1. So the Cowboys are underdogs at home against an 0-2 Ravens team. Over-under is set at 49. I don't know. I think the Ravens come in here and take it. I like to pick them. I like to pick them there. I don't want
Yes.
to. After the Cowboys looked last week, like I think this Ravens team, even though they are 0-2 and they did lose to a Raiders team that nobody really expected much from, but the Raiders defense was good. If the Cowboys want to win this game, they have to kind of take that game plan that the Raiders took against the Ravens and get after the quarterback, get after Lamar, shut down the run. I don't see this Cowboys run defense shutting down Derrick Henry, who has yet
Right.
to really be unleashed. But I think this could be a coming out game for Derrick Henry as a Raven.
Well, the Ravens also just can't go 0-3.
No.
And I think that bad loss to the Raiders. I think that they go into Dallas and they win. Not easy, but I think that I think Lamar can have fun too and just like run all over the field. Will be interesting to see.
Yeah. Yeah, where Eric Kendricks kind of thrived against Deshaun Watson, I feel like he might be exposed against somebody like Lamar Jackson.
Possibly. What's the line and what's the over under?
Yeah, the over-under sit at 49, and it's the Ravens -1.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I'll take kind of in a sense pick them. I'll take Ravens to -1. I think it goes over. I think Baltimore really exhibits proper offense for the first time that we've seen. I guess the Raiders it would have been okay if they won ultimately. It didn't give up a 10-point lead in the fourth. I'll go. 34-23, Baltimore.
Oh, damn, dude. 11 points for the Ravens. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, listen, dude. I would love
It's
that.
just
Cowboys
tough
fans
because
know would not.
you see the Saints beat them by 25. It's like, well then, I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's totally true. I mean, the Saints offense have a lot of pieces as well, but not. I would say like they're. I like the receivers of the Saints a lot more. Obviously, like the Ravens just have really Zay
Yeah.
Flowers. Like Rashad Bateman's nobody. Aguilar. I mean, you know about Nelson Aguilar.
Oh, yes.
But I don't know.
They,
Isaiah Likely kind of got shut down last week, and I kind of want to see Isaiah Likely get used a lot more. That's going to be a test for these linebackers. Like Maris Luafau, Overshown, Kendricks. Like Kendricks, a little older now. We'll see if he can hold up against Mark Andrews. But this could be the Mark Andrews game as well. And Isaiah Likely too. They've been using a lot of 2 tight end sets, using both of those tight ends, because I would say they're both top 3 receiving threats.
Right.
And Mark Andrews might be the number 1, even though he really hasn't been used since coming into the season a little injured. But yeah, I'm picking the Ravens here. I'm also picking the over. I just feel like it's going to be.
Yes.
I feel like there's going to be some high scoring. I think the Cowboys put up more of a fight this game too, though, at least offensively. And I could also see their defense making some impact, because the Cowboys, despite looking like a poor defense, they still have a lot of key pieces. I think Mike Zimmer's going to try to redeem himself a little bit. But.
Yeah.
All right. You ready for the Commanders?
Yes.
All right, Commanders, Monday Night Football, and a Monday Night Football doubleheader. One that I feel like nobody is really going to watch this when the Bills are playing also on Monday night. I don't know, the Bills, Jags. The Jags kind of look like garbage. But the Commanders go into Cincinnati on Monday night. The line is Commanders plus 7.5, over-under set at 48.5. And like we said about the Ravens being 0-2 and hungry, the Bengals are 0-2 and hungry.
Yes.
After losing a game to the Chiefs that looked like the refs might have had a little bit of an impact at the end there.
Yeah.
I think they're angry. I think Joe Burrow is used to starting the season off slow. Well, we'll kind of see. I don't know let me look up some T. Higgins stuff here to see if he'll maybe actually play this game. But yeah, what are you thinking here for this Commanders Bengals?
Well, the Bengals certainly can't go 0-3, you would think. But I'm also on the record with the Bengals. I don't think they're a good team. Tough game 2 to play the Chiefs, but they had it and they blew it. And losing to the Patriots at home week 1 is just inexcusable. So, yeah, I haven't seen enough positives from Washington early on, or excitement, even with even with them getting a win. Cincinnati wins. They cover. What's the spread? 7.5?
7.5.
Oh, I think I wanted more around 6.5. That's okay.
I still like 7.5. To be honest, yeah.
Okay. I like 7.5 if it's like
it's a home game too. It's a home game for the Bengals.
Yeah. Bengals 31. Washington 17.
Okay, yeah. Well, then you took the 7.5, and I listen. I agree. I think the Bengals are hungry. I think everybody sees this defense as a way to like get your offense going, and I think this is where Joe Burrow will get things going. T. Higgins still questionable with the hamstring. No real anything. I think we'll see come tomorrow based on the practice report if he's going to be playing. Regardless, Jamar Chase is still okay. I mean, okay. Jamar Chase is still one of the best receivers in the league. He really hasn't been unleashed yet, but
yes.
I mean, I think he'll have a great opportunity. I think this is a Jamar Chase.
He just got insurance. Am I not wrong about that?
Yeah, he just got insurance because of his contract, because he's not going to get the contract.
Why did more people not do that?
I don't know. I mean, it's smart, but still, like, I think he'd rather just get the insurance in a contract with the guarantees, so he doesn't have to take out that. But also, I mean, he has 2 years left on his rookie contract. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
I think it's a little diva, but
it is a position, and he is putting up a lot of crazy numbers this or so. But yes, go ahead, Earl. Go ahead.
I mean, Andreas Ilios Silvas. Even if T. Higgins is out, I think is great. Jermaine Burton, your Bama boy, really hasn't done much in the league in his first 2 weeks, but I think that
Right.
he could kind of be unleashed this week as well. Mike Gesicki is playing pretty well, kind of like filling in that slot role as well.
Yeah,
Because
athletic
he's
tight
more of a
end
wide
too.
receiver than a tight end, I
Yep.
feel. Uh,
Yeah, maybe.
they really like Eric All, too, their rookie tight end, who
Yeah.
showed a lot of athleticism. He had some injuries coming out of the draft, but could be
Yep.
fun there. Chase Brown looks like garbage. I think I'm dropping him from my fantasy team. Zach Moss seems to have that rule down. He's definitely the better runner, could be taking
Yep.
advantage of here. I think if you're a Commanders fan, the reason why I take the Bengals minus 7.5 is because I think that their offense is hungry, ready to eat. I think that they're in a game plan to really take advantage because there's no way they're going 0-3. They'll take out the tricks against the Commanders team that I feel like without all the fanciness you can take advantage of. And then on offense, the Commanders haven't shown anything, any explosiveness. And this is an explosive Bengals offense. So if the Bengals offense gets off to a start, like we haven't seen Jaden Daniels pass the ball downfield yet. Like we've seen it in college. Have we seen it in the NFL? No. And until they show that, I just don't believe that they're capable of doing it. I don't know if that's because they don't trust Terry McLaurin getting open enough, if they don't trust Jaden Daniels in the pocket. I mean, their O-line does stink too. Like Trey Hendrickson, I give the over on a sack on this week too. I could see Trey Hendrickson getting in on this this O-line. I mean, that's really where it comes down to. I think the defense isn't ready, and because of that, Bengals are going to eat, and the Commanders, like I said, they haven't shown that explosiveness to match it. That's why they lost so badly against the Bucs. They just couldn't keep up with the Bucs explosion. Even trying to respond to that, weren't able to. So those are my thoughts there.
Yeah, I agree. I think can't go 0-3. We still think Burrow's elite, but I just have to see it from Washington first. Ultimately, give me an offensive game plan and execution where I'd be really impressed to take them and feel confident. And it's not going to start after the first 2 games we've seen from them so far.
No, I think that's why the spread is as big as it is too. It's like,
yes,
I don't care if the Bengals are 0-2. The Bengals are still the Bengals. There's a lot of people who believe in this team. Like you said, I don't think they're that Super Bowl team everybody's raving about, and that kind of shows with them going 0-2.
Yep.
But they still have it in them, and they have some of the talent to provide that. And
they play the Chiefs hard.
Yeah.
In Arrowhead, I think too.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, you credit that if you're going to mark up all the ugly we've seen from them, that's definitely in a way a positive, and they should have won that game too. But yeah,
we'll. So yeah, I think that's it. I think we both picked the Bengals there, and I think the Bengals are also looking for their first win. They can't lose to the Patriots and the Commanders at home to start the season. So
that would be something. That is a good
All
point.
Right. Anything else you want to talk about before we wrap this up, Jeremy?
I don't think so. Tough week.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. Keep going, dude. Please tell me how miserable you are.
I mean, it's just like even if they won, like the way we thought they would have won, whatever, it still would not have felt great because that was the issue the Eagles had last year too. It's like they went 10-1, and they're winning. You can't be mad when they win, but it's like the way you win matters in the NFL. And to keep on winning barely in the scrappiness and not playing complete games will catch up to you. So it felt that way even if they would have won. I would have been like, it would have been fine. 2-0 is great. You can work on it going forward. But like, it just seems like it's the same old story with this team because of talent on defense. It's just holding them back and not enough money going towards there. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it honestly made my week a little bit better. Yeah, the Giants lost it, like I said, historically embarrassing fashion.
Did.
But seeing the Cowboys get walloped and seeing the Eagles
that's fun.
lose the way they did against the Falcons, Feels good.
Yes.
And even like the Commanders, yeah, they beat us, but they looked like the inferior team, to be honest. It was just maybe if
It's
we had
like,
a kicker, we would have
yeah,
won.
it's like the Falcons. Like, it hurts to lose like that against a very good team, but it's like the Falcons. It just hurts more when it's a team like that. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe they make noise going forward. I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll make too much, but we'll see. I don't know.
All right. Well, if you made it this far, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Like that thing, subscribe to that thing, wherever they are. We are the Beasts of the NFC East, and we will see you next week. And hopefully, we're both a little happier. Well, hopefully not Jeremy. I hope the Eagles lose again because that would be
Yeah,
funny.
I just need to be the one happy. I don't care about.
Yeah. And I hope my ankles, I hope I can finally stand on my foot. That would be nice too. But
Maybe we could do a little progress report on the ankle. See you run it.
yeah,
Do a little.
I'm
Do a
current.
few laps.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Dude, I wish I got that on video. It was a sick catch. And then immediately just.
Did you complete it? You completed the process?
Oh,
too?
yeah, dude, I caught it. Yeah, dude, Coral threw me a dime, dude. I was like, I caught it and I just immediately, dude, just downhill. And I was like on the ground. Coral was laughing because I was on the ground. I'm like, I can't stand up. It's like, I was hurt from the jump.
Yes.
So officially at this point, I am doubtful for next week.
All right. Well, at least you're better than San Francisco. It doesn't report their injuries and cheats. So good.
Yeah, that's rough. And Hollywood Brown too after the season. A lot of weird stuff happening here.
All
All right. All right. Thank you guys again, and we will see you next week. See you then.